It wasn't so long ago that Capcom released Ultra Street Fighter II: The Final Challengers as one of their earliest efforts for the then-fledgling Nintendo Switch, and yet the arrival of Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection barely a year later is likely to leave Nintendo fans asking, Ultra Street Fighter what now? That's because 30th Anniversary Collection almost completely invalidates Ultra Street Fighter II just by its mere existence. Super Street Fighter II Turbo, which Ultra Street Fighter II was based on and modified from, represents just one of the 12 games included in 30th Anniversary Collection's generous lineup, and with full online play supported for 4 of the most popular games in the collection, as well as a wealth of well-considered supplementary content for the game's exhaustive museum mode, it's hard to argue with everything on offer here. If it already sounds like I don't have much of anything negative to say about Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, well, that's because I don't. Now, hardcore Street Fighter players will likely point to a few perfectly valid grievances, such as the fan-favorite Street Fighter Alpha 2 being one of the offline-only titles, or training mode only being available for the 4 online-enabled games. But for casual World Warriors like myself, and I suspect all but the fussiest of pro players, 30th Anniversary Collection represents Capcom's most exhaustive and exciting compilation of playable Street Fighter history yet. Included in this 30th anniversary celebration are the original Street Fighter, 5 different iterations of Street Fighter II, the entire Street Fighter Alpha trilogy, and all 3 versions of Street Fighter 3, for a grand total of 12 Street Fighter games that are playable offline, either solo or against a friend via good old head-to-head versus play on a single console. And even if Capcom had simply left it at that, it would be hard to argue against such an exhaustive lineup of games. But Capcom and Digital Eclipse instead went the extra mile, making 4 of the most popular games in this collection, Street Fighter II Hyper Fighting, Super Street Fighter II Turbo, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, fully playable online and over local wireless. Now, like I said earlier, while it's certainly a shame that specific fan-favorite games like Street Fighter Alpha 2 aren't also playable online, I feel like the 4 games Capcom did choose to update with online play are well positioned to please the widest possible swath of fans, and are well representative of each distinct era of Street Fighter's gameplay. And here's the really good news. Based on my pre-release tests at least, Capcom has not treated the online portion of 30th Anniversary Collection as an afterthought. While it's true that online matches were hard to come by in the days leading up to this review, and I still haven't managed to find anyone playing Street Fighter II Hyper Fighting online, I'm pretty confident that has more to do with the limited pool of people playing 30th Anniversary Collection prior to release, and I don't expect to have matchmaking issues once the game is publicly available. So why am I not all that concerned? Well, because the online matches I did get into, whether by searching for a casual or ranked match, joining an existing lobby, or having the game find me a challenger while I played online arcade mode, were pretty smooth and enjoyable across the board. Now, that's not to say I didn't encounter any lag or input delay, particularly during a couple of Third Strike matches, but the majority of my online brawls in Third Strike, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and Super Street Fighter II Turbo were stable and lag-free, if not always perfect. Of course, an online match is only as good as the internet connections of its participants, and indeed, any connection problems I encountered while playing online during the review period seem to occur on a player-by-player basis. But I will be further testing 30th Anniversary Collection's online play once the game's public release has introduced the requisite load on the game's servers, and if the online play doesn't pass muster under real-world circumstances like it has during the review period, I'll be sure to post an addendum to my review saying so. As far as the experience of actually playing the collection's 12 included games is concerned, these ports all look and feel to be as arcade perfect as one could possibly want from a collection such as this. That said, it is important to note that these are arcade ports, so those of you who grew up with the console versions of these games may be in for a bit of a surprise. Still, the fact that Capcom has wisely seen fit to issue a Day 1 patch in response to fan feedback that adds a local versus mode for all 12 games, as well as a fully featured training mode for the 4 online-enabled titles, means that while 30th Anniversary Collection remains firmly focused on recreating each game's arcade experience, it still delivers some of the console-focused modes and conveniences that players at home have come to expect. 30th Anniversary Collection includes the usual smattering of display size options, allowing you to play any of the 12 games at their original aspect ratio, with the image stretched to fit just the vertical edges of the screen, or with the image stretched to fit the entire screen itself. You can also turn on image filters approximating the appearance of a CRT TV or old-school arcade cabinet if you so desire, and the included game borders for each Street Fighter series represented here look especially nice on the Switch's screen. While it goes without saying that the Switch's various control options are ill-suited to the precise directional input Street Fighter games require, all but the most serious players will likely find that the Pro Controller and Joy-Cons are good enough for casual play in TV and handheld mode respectively. Fortunately, fight sticks are available on the Switch for hardcore fans who require them, allowing players of all stripes to interact with 30th Anniversary Collection's games in the manner that suits them most. So we've established that 30th Anniversary Collection generally delivers on its promises when playing one of its 12 included games on or offline, but how does it fare when browsing all of the bonus content tying it all together? Well, Derek has been taking the PS4 version of this collection for a spin while I've been playing the Switch version for this review, and we both agree. 30th Anniversary Collection's Museum Mode delivers and then some. In addition to a super detailed interactive Street Fighter timeline recounting the series' entire 30-year history from 1987 up to the present day, the museum also offers a wide range of detailed character profiles, a music player collecting the songs for all 12 games, and a making-of section featuring genuinely cool curiosities such as the original Street Fighter's pitch document. It's all really great stuff and serves as a fantastic complement to the games included here, filling out 30th Anniversary Collection supplementary content in an exciting, meaningful way. One especially cool aspect of the museum that I feel deserves particular mention is the Sprite Viewer, which is baked into each character's profile and offers up a selection of that character's in-game sprites to browse through at your leisure. Even better is the fact that characters appearing in multiple generations of Street Fighter games have each of their incarnations represented in the Sprite Viewer as well, so for example, the Sprite Viewer for Chun-Li includes not only some of her animations from Street Fighter 2, but Super Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Alpha, and Street Fighter 3 as well. Considering how the Street Fighter series is well known for producing some of the finest, most iconic sprite art and animation of all time, this particular aspect of the museum feels especially well considered and is a huge plus. The Switch version of 30th Anniversary Collection has one exclusive feature in a special tournament mode that can be used when playing Super Street Fighter 2 locally, but it requires 4 Switches to use, so naturally I wasn't able to test this out myself. Obviously, the appeal of this mode will be very limited given the hardware required to use it, but the fact that it's included at all is a nice bonus for Switch owners who play with other Switch-owning friends regularly. Despite everything Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection does so right, there is one area in which I found it to be seriously lacking, and that's in the design of the menus and other user interface elements tying all of the collection's content together. Now, granted, this is a minor point compared to the representation of the games themselves, the quality of the online play, or the breadth of the museum's complementary bonus content. But when you consider the inspired, franchise-appropriate designs of the UIs and menus and other recent Digital Eclipse offerings like Mega Man Legacy Collection and the Disney Afternoon Collection, it's hard not to wonder what went wrong here. The menus and overall UI in 30th Anniversary Collection are perfectly functional, of course, but that's about all they are. Functional, when they could have really enhanced the package in a visual and branding sense instead of just feeling like an afterthought. This extends to the music used for the various menus as well, which unfortunately consists of the emptiest, most forgettable, zero-excitement rearrangements of classic Street Fighter tunes I think I've ever heard. Now again, none of this is a particularly big deal in light of 30th Anniversary Collection really sticking the landing in all the ways that matter most, but it's worth mentioning nonetheless. I also encountered a single bug in the form of some major stuttering that began as I started up Street Fighter 1, but that only happened once. Backing out to the home menu and relaunching the game quickly fixed it, and it hasn't happened again since. Hopefully this can be fixed in a future patch, but it's a very minor issue all things considered, and it certainly hasn't negatively impacted my experience with the game in any meaningful way. And really, that's a perfectly apt summation of my time with Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection in general. There's a staggering amount of content on offer here, and the promise of 12 arcade-perfect ports spanning Street Fighter's 30-year history is largely delivered on. Sure, playing with the Switch Pro Controller or Joy-Cons makes for an intrinsically flawed control experience, but that's not a fault of the collection itself, and I otherwise love what Capcom and Digital Eclipse have put together here. All early signs point to the online play being solid even if it needs further testing, and the utterly exhaustive, well-curated museum content is sure to be a treat for Street Fighter historians. Other than a strangely bland, completely forgettable user interface that doesn't exactly feel celebratory, Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection is an excellent birthday present for fans of the 2D fighting series that started it all. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on social media using the links in the video description below. Otherwise, keep it on GameXplain for more on Street Fighter, the Nintendo Switch, and all things gaming.